Okay, good luck to everyone. We're learning the Nishmas Chaim Moshe ben Yaakov, the father of Adir Chava, Yehuda Kerpa, Neshama, and the Schus of his son's Torah, and not Torah, Neshama should have an Aliyah. Yehuda, what number yard site is this? Well, I just see YZ. Oh, YZ, Yehuda Kerpa is not on the air. YZ is Yankel. Okay, Yehuda is not here. Okay. Anyway, a new sugya. We're up to Chaf Dalet Amid Beis, the Mishnah. The Eluhein HaPsulim. These are the ones that are puzzle. Rashi says, Lodun L'hei, they're puzzle for Dayanis, and they're puzzle for Edis. Now, as we're going to see, these are not Chiyuvi Deraisa. These are not Chiyuvi Deraisa. They're not people who are Asa Deraisa. These will all be Asa Derabbanan. Eluhein Psulim HaMesachik Kuvya. Literally dice players, people who go ahead Mesachik, they play. But Kubya is probably the lashon of cubes. Comes from Kubya, probably cubes come from that lashon, right? Okay, so the Hamalva Beribis, and someone who goes ahead and lends Beribis, Umafriche Yoinim, and the Gemara is asked about Chayes Daraisa. Mafriche Yoinim, we'll see what that is. It doesn't mean people who race pigeons, or does it mean people who use a pigeon as a means of alluring other birds to come? In other words, a person has a dovecote and he goes ahead and lures other birds. We'll see that in the Gemara. The Soichrei Shvias, those who do business with Soichrei Shvias, it says La'achla is supposed to eat it, the Leila Schreira, and not for Schreira. Okay, now what's wrong with these things? Rashi says, Hoyel b'chimud mamid me'aveirei, ma'avirei al devei Torah. Since he loves money, he's willing to be mavra al devei Torah. So Rashi tells us the site over here. These people are doing Averis. They're doing Averis, but why would they pass them to Edis? And the answer is, Rashi says, because their Averis show they love money. And as a result, they're considered what? Like Azlanim. They could be Me'ena Gazel. And therefore it says, Al-Tashas Russia aid. A Russia can't be an aid. And once you get the moniker of being a Russia, you cannot go ahead and say Edis. And therefore, we're subject when it comes to, as a dayan, if they love money, they may go after a sheikhad. So these people who have a love for money, we have to be very, very careful. So we have Mesachik Pekuvya, Malva Beribis, and Mafriche Yoina, and Seiche Shvias. Amrav Shimon, B'tchila ha'yekarim nesei oisvei Shvias. Misharobu ha'anasim, when the anasim, we're going to see again what that means in the Gemara, when they increased, Chasru l'kroisei Seiche Shvias. They became known as Seiche Shvias. Bez Hashem, that ambiguous statement will be clear in the Gemara. This is very important. Rabbi Yehuda a Masai, going back on Mesachik Pekuvya, Mizban she'ein la umnis elahu. They don't. That's the business. They gamble. That's the business. They're professional gamblers. That's when they're pasal edis. Aval yesh le umnis, when they do have a business, they have some type of profession. Then what? Shalahu ksherin. Then they what? If they wouldn't have an umnis aside from that, they would be kosher. Okay. Let's see the Rambam. Let's see the Rambam on this. I have the Pirush Mishnayos in the Rambam. Let's see what he says over here. It's a long, very, very long piece. This is an excerpt from that piece. You can see it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. It shouldn't enter your mind, she'elu bilvad psule edis. Only these mentioned, Mesachik Pekuvya, Malva Beribis. Don't let that enter your mind that only these are pasal edis. Avalheim rabim yaroch lefarsham. There's too many to explain. Behine. Ikrim, here's two rules. Here's two ikarim, shekoilim rubam, that will go ahead and cover the majority of those that why they're pasal edis. Aval yimsa yaitza, aval lo yimatze yaitza mishnein elim hakirim elim atim. In other words, these are the main rules. You will find exception to the rules, but those exceptions to the rules are few. V'zeh, again, this is in the Pirush Mishnayos. This is the Rambam. V'zeh. Ki kol mi sheyaseh avain sheis chayav lav malchus. Anyone who does an aveira that's chayav malchus, who pasal edis, he's pasal edis. Va'afilu shlo yiyeh ba'isa avin shum In other words, there's no shaykhis to mammon klal. In other words, if you do this avera, even if there's no shaykhis to money, you puzzle. Keep going. Eichel basa b'chalav. If you eat basa b'chalav. Eichel nevela. If you eat nevela. Oy mashkas peya. If you cut of your payas. Oy loy v'shatnis. All these are lavim that you chayiv malchus on. Uchayyitzben, and similar to that. Lefisha Torah hamitis kara kol mechuyev malchus Russia. Because the Torah calls anyone who's mechuyev malchus a Russia. K'mo shenemar v'hoya im bin hakos a Russia. When bin hakos you get malchus, you're a Russia. V'hiziru, the Torah warns us, shaloi lekabel edis Russia. Do not accept the testimony of a Russia. K'mo shenemar atoshish yadcha im Russia liyos et chamas. So there says the Rambam, even if this Aveira has nothing whatsoever to do with what with Mammon, if it gives you the moniker of a Russia, then you're going to go ahead and be chayiv. Then you're going to go ahead and be puzzle edis. Umpi ashmur madnu, says the Rambam, beferish dabezer al tashish Russia aid ukeshehilku oisai chaza. Once you get malchus, chaza kashal edis. That's what it says. Shenemar v'nikla achicha leinecha. Your brother will be nikla, will be lowered in your eyes by getting malchus. V'nikla, it's like malchus. Kivan shalaka harihu achicha zehu ikarecha. That's the first ikka. Says the Rambam in his first ikka, fellas. The first ikka, says the Rambam, is that if you do an aveira that carries with malchus, you get the name Russia. Once you get the malchus and you postulate this, however, once you go ahead and get malchus, then you chayzer to your original status. You're not a Russia anymore. You kashaladis. V'ika Sheni, who ki kol mi sheyikach mamin shaloi kidin, someone who takes money incorrectly, unterin tish, v'afa pi she'einu mechuyev malchus, who pasladis. Ki goin ganif, v'gazlan, malva beribis, umitzad lekichas mamin shaloi kidin, gam kein shamai. Mafricha yoinim, v'hachamsonim. We're going to see a chamson, a person who goes ahead and buys something from somebody that doesn't want to sell. V'hagaboyim, v'hamoichsim, tax collectors, custom collectors. V'haroyim, people who are shepherds. V'yoichleit tzedakah shel kutim, pasul le'edis. Lefi, shehagaboyim yesh shaloichim la'atzman. They're going to go ahead and take for themselves. They go ahead and take for themselves. V'chein kain, also in addition, ha-muchsin, the tax collectors, v'haroyim b'shalchim mikneihem b'sadash b'nei adam. And in tzedakah shel kutim, einu mitaris Yisrael, not to take that, we'll see that in tomorrow's daf. Comes out from the Rambam, I think, is a very good hakdama to the whole sugya, like just as a hakdama to the whole sugya, that there's two rules over here, two rules to go ahead and decide who's pasal edis. One, if you do a lav, chayve lavim. Now, versteht guys, there's kroivim pasal edis, there's nageya bedavus pasal edis, korav pasal. We're speaking about someone who does. They didn't do anything over there, guys. By nageya be'edis, you didn't do anything. Korav, you didn't do anything. We're talking about people who, through their actions, become pasal edis. In that realm of two people who do something that pasal edis, we have two ikarim, says the Rambam. One, if you're a Russia, Russia, you can't. The aveir I did, I ate in the veil. I went to McDonald's. A person goes to McDonald's and he gets a Big Mac with the face, with the cheese and everything, and he eats that. It has nothing to do with money. He's a baltaiva. He likes food, especially food that's usher to him. He's a Russia. You know why? Because he's Chai Malchus. The Chi of Malchus makes you pasalatus. The Chi of Malchus makes you pasalatus. Conversely, once you get the Malchus, hey, the Nikla Chicha, you're a brother again. That's great. Second rule, you do something that you're not going to get Malchus for, but it shows us you love the almighty buck. It shows we can't rely upon you. So as a dayan, you're subject to bribery like most people, even without this. And as an aide, you're not reliable. And over here, you have to go ahead, as we're going to see in the Gemara, to do something to restore your status. Because it's the Avera and your pasal edis is, you're not a Russian necessarily. You're not getting Malchus necessarily. But But you love money, you're out of the Pasha. The Rambam gives us two Gedorim. I like them very much, guys. I like them very much. And again, it's not, as opposed to Nagei Beitas and Korev, which you didn't do anything, over here you're doing something. I think it gives us a good Hagdara of what we're about to discuss. Okay, says the Gemara, Mesachik bekuvya. Now, Mesachik literally means, again, Mesachik to play with. Kuvya is dice. Now, Mike Ovid, what did he do? What did he do? Why is he puzzle this? So, Amar Rami Bar Chama, Mishum Nahavi Asmachta. The Asmachta Leikanya. Now, we've done the Sugya of Asmachta many times. And today we can get a little better understanding of it. What's the Asmachta over here? When you put your money down on the table, you're gambling. You don't believe you're going to lose. Because if you're going to believe you're going to lose, you wouldn't do it in the first place. So really, I'm not gomeru makna. I'm not really makna because I think I'm going to win. The person who takes it, if you're going to take it if the pot works out in your hand, so you're a shtickle goslin. You're shtickle gana. Excuse me, right? You're a goslin. You're stealing money. So therefore, if asmachta loikanya, and asmachta, right? Asmachta, then if asmachta loikanya, then you're a shtickle goslin. And shtickle goslin, we just saw, based upon the Rambam's second rule, you love money, and therefore what? You're pasleidis. So this is the opinion of Rami Bar Chama. Says Rami Bar Chama, you're pasel. Why? Because it's an asmachta, and asmachta loikanya. Rashi says asmachta. You're not putting it with your das. You think you're going to win. And sometimes they're going to win, right? That's gambling. Sometimes you'll win and sometimes they won't win. Okay? So therefore, and what's a problem is like Kanya, Rashi says, and therefore the money you're taking from the other person is Ke'en Gezela. Therefore what? You are Pasal Edis. Fitting in the Rambam's second rule. Continues the Gemara. Rav Sheshis Amar, Kol ki agav the lava smachta. This is not really an asmachta. Ela lefi she'ein oiskim b'yeshuva shel olam. The reason why if you're a gambler, the reason why you are pasal edis is because you are not going ahead and being oisik in yeshuva shel olam. You're not going ahead and giving to society. You're not adding to society. And since you're not giving anything to society, therefore, you're pasal edis. Might be nayu. It can be nayu the gomer umnasa achrita. If you have an other umnis, if you have another job. So if you have a job and you're a gambler, you're kashal edis. If however, on the hand, and on the other hand, if it's a smach kanya, you could have the biggest job in the world. You could be the president of the United States. You could be pasal edis because you're a gambler and then a smach kanya. Now, Reb Sheshes says this is not an asmachta. Shesha says this is not an asmachta. So what is an asmachta? So we saw it in Masechta Baba Basra. Let's see Rashi. We saw it in Baba Metzia and we saw it in Baba Basra, and we'll be mechalik between the two. Kol ki agavna, gambling, la basmachtahi. Vehechi dami asmachta, kigoin, im oiver v'loy avid, ashalim b'metfa. You give me a field to plant. If I leave this field empty and I don't plant, I'm going to pay you back who knows what. What's the asmachta over there? It's in your hands to go ahead, Rod, and plant. You don't mean it for a second that you're going to leave the field empty. You tell the guy, give it to me. If I leave it empty, you know what? I'm going to pay you back who knows what. You don't mean that. So therefore, you're not gomeru makna. The problem with asmachta is you don't mean it. If you don't mean it, you're not giving it to the guy. So if he gets it, it's a shtickle gezela. Gomeru makna means, and we know you need a kinyan. You need a transition. Anytime you go, money goes from one hand to the other, there has to be a kinyan. If you're not gomer and you're marrying to be makna because you don't think that it's going to happen, therefore like kanya. So this is the asmachta that is like kanya. The asmachta where it's in your hands to do something, and you think you're going to do it and you don't. Another example, to get pashit. You go ahead, you give the shtar over to a third party, and you give the guy $500, you owe him $1,000, you give it to the third party, and you say, if I don't pay you in this time, then give it back to the guy and he can collect the whole thing. So guys, he's going to collect the full $1,000 now. This one you might remember, it's not too long ago. Again, you're giving the shtar to a third party, you pay part of it, and you tell the guy to the third party, if I don't pay the other part, give him the whole thing. And therefore he's going to collect even more. Now, you in it for a second do not believe you're not going to pay. Why in the world would you set yourself up for it? So really, what? This is the asmachta that kol ki gavna, gambling, that's not an asmachta. You want to know what an asmachta is? Giving your shtar over to somebody, leaving your field empty, and saying and promising the guy the velt. You promise him much more. That's the asmachta. So continues Rashi. The samach loydava. The sava kol ze biyadi lasais. I could do it. I could do it. Umeresha kimasni adait loyavle. Right. That's la smachta kamasni. The toya v'sava loyavle yadikach. It's not going to happen that I'm going to leave the field empty. It's not going to happen that what that I won't get money to pay back the loan. Aval hacha over here by gambling. Loy samach amidi. You're not being samach on anything. You don't know if you're going to win or not. Nonetheless, you said you got involved. This sveika, since I know it's not in my hands to go ahead and accomplish it, therefore it's not an asmachta. So aside from the psula edis, in our sugya, we have a distinction between different asmachtas. Is gambling an asmachta or not? Is gambling an asmachta or not? According to Rabbi Barcham, it's an asmachta. You don't believe you're losing it, and therefore, legomer machna. Says of Sheshis, that's not an asmachta. Asmachta is when it's totally within your power to do something, and therefore you say some outrageous condition. I'm going to pay you back double. I'm going to, who knows what I'll pay back more than I owe you. You know, again. We spoke about why it's not ribbis there. You might remember it. It's not ribbis because it's begerin matana. We spoke about that. Anyway, so you can hear the distinction of Rav Sheshis between what this asmachta, that asmachta. There's a nice thesis over here. It's quite long. It goes through the whole inyan of asmachta. So it's a good marmokim for the sugya. Bottom line is, Mesachik Bekuvya, why is he pasal edis? Why is he pasal edis? According to Rabbi Barchama, he's a gazlan asmachta. According to Rav Sheshis, he's not being oisik in b'yishuv shaloylam. If you're not being oisik b'yishuv shaloylam, you're not fulfilling any purpose. The beginning of the Rambam goes through the purpose of creation. You're supposed to learn Torah and work for a purpose, and if you're not going to get it and doing either, you shouldn't be in this world. That's basically what the Rambam says. Anyway, very good. So those are two dinim. Continues the Gemara. Ditnan. The Gemara Ditnan. Ditnan. Rabbi Yehuda Emasai. Emasai. Now, guys, look back at the Mishnah. This is important for the Gemara. Going down the Mishnah, 3 lines from the end of the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda, Emasai is Mesachik Bekuvya Pasal, Bisman She'en Lem Omnis. So, Pashit, the Emasai is the Pirish of the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda is coming to explain the sheet of the Tanakama. When is Emasai? When, he's not arguing with the Tanakama, he's explaining. When is the Tanakama says Mesachik Bekuvya is Pasal Edis? That's when what? He doesn't have, then he's not being Geisik, he doesn't have another Omnis. Clearly, Rav Sheshis is going along those lines. It's Kashan Rabbi Barchama from our Mishnah. If Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the sheet of the Tanakama, it's not a separate shita, but it's the sheet of the Tanakama. How can Rabbi Barchama say it's because of Asmachta? Clearly, according to, if Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Tanakama, he's explaining it Peh Maleh. He's saying what Peh Maleh, that what? The reason why Mesachik could be his puzzle is because why he doesn't have a job. That's what he's saying. Elahu says the Gemara. Right? He has an umnis shaloihu, right? Ksherim. I'm saying Shem Ashuda. Says the Gemara, okay. Shaloihu ksherim. Alma, time of the Mastis, and what's the reason for the Mishnah? Mishum Yeshuva shaloilam. Kasha l'Rami Barchamu says asmachta. V'chi tema. So guys, what's the way out? Guys, mechanically, what's the way out? That Rabbi Yehuda is arguing in the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda says Yishuv Shaloilam. The Tanakama is saying Asmachta. That's the way Rami Bar Chama could escape. If Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Tanakama, Rami Bar Chama is Oif Kahak Tzoris, right? He's got a problem, right? Because he says, it says openly that it's As Umnis. But if he's arguing the Tanakama, he could say a totally different opinion. He could say the opinion is because of what of Asmachta, because of gambling. Says the Gemara, what will you say? Pligi Rabbana led Rabbi Yehuda. They argue, meaning Rabbana here's the Tanakama, and they're arguing Rabbi Yehuda. and therefore Rabbi Bar Chama is saying his din, his in the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says Yeshua ben Levi, Kamakom Shomer Rabbi Yehuda a Masai ubameh. Anytime in the Mishnah you have the word a Masai, Rabbi Yehuda says a Masai when ubama and how. Ein el lefarish divrei chachamim. Good. Rabbi Yochanan Amar a Masai lefarish ubama lach lachlek. A Masai what is to go ahead and explain. Ubameh is to go ahead what and argue. However, the Kuli Alma a Masai lefarishu. So therefore we have a problem. Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the words of Tanakama. Why? Because Sai Rabbi Yochanan and Sai Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yochanan and I don't know who the other person, Rabbi Shua ben Levi, excuse me. Rabbi Shua ben Levi and Rabbi Yehuda Yochanan are both of the opinion. Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Tanakama, and he's explaining it b'pem malei. He's saying what? Umnis, not asmachta. Good. So right now we have a big kasha on Rami Bar Chama. And for the Gemara, Gavra Karamis, you're asking on Rami Bar Chama, who's an Amoira, from the Yeshua ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan, who are Amoroyim. You're asking from those two. You're asking from those Amoroyim. You're asking from those Amoroyim. Big deal, right? Marsava pligi, right? Rami Bar Chama argues. Umasav and Yeshua ben Levi like pligi. In other words, the easiest way out is Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda says the reason as umnis. But Rami Bar Chama, say it's asvat asmachta because gambling is not asmachta, but nothing to do with Yisha Shalaylam. That's the easy way out. Fred the Gemara of like pligi. How can you say that what? How can you say they don't argue? Vatanya, ben sheyesh le umnis shalayhu, whether he has some or ben she'en le umnis elahu, maybe that's the only thing he has. How is that puzzle? So you see that what? Even if he has an umnis, it's puzzle. So why do you see that what? Bein sheyesh le umnis shalayhu, bein she'ein le umnis elahu. If that's the only thing he has, then it's puzzle. Says the Gemara, Hahi Reb Yehuda Mishum Reb Tarfon he. Okay, so this is the opinion of what Reb Yehuda Reb Tarfon. Notice, guys, this is saying that even if he has a job, he's puzzled. Look at the lashon, guys. Bein sheyesh le umnis shalayhu, meaning what? He has a job, but it's not him. Bein she'ein le umnis elahu, right? Whether all he does is gamble, or he has another job, he's puzzled. Now, obviously, that's like Rami Bar Chama, because you're saying even if he has a job, he's puzzled. So don't tell me no one argues on the Mishnah. Don't tell me no one argues. You see someone argues. So Rami Bar Chama has someone he can go according to. Says the Gemara, Hahi, who is that? That's Rabbi Yehuda Mishum Reb Tarfon he. That's Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Reb Tarfon. The Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Oimem Mishum Reb Tarfon, Lo'ilam Einecha Mehem Nazir. No one's a Nazir, Lefish Le'nitn Nazir is El Lafla. Okay, let's explain this. First of all, what's the mechanics of the Gemara? What's the mechanics of the Teretz? That Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah, he says, he's explaining the Tanakama. What does the Tanakama say? Masachi B'Kuvi is puzzle, and you know when he's puzzled? When he doesn't have a job. Rami Bar Chama says puzzle because of Asmachta, but not from our Mishnah, because Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Tarfon. Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Tarfon says even if you have a job, it's puzzle. I hold like that, and what's the reason over there? Because Asmachta. So in other words, I have who to go according to. Good. Now, they bring along why is this? Where do you see this concept of asmachta loikanya when you know you could lose? Okay, you see it by naziris. Two guys are sitting. One guy comes, and one guy says, "Listen, if this guy's a nazir, I'm a nazir." The other guy says, "If this guy's not a nazir, I'm a nazir." You would think either way, memanav shach, the guy's a nazir, because if the guy's walking as a nazir, then the first guy's a nazir, and if he's not a nazir, the second guy's a nazir, right? The halacha is he's not a nazir because it says ish or isha ki yafli linda neder nazir lahasal Hashem. Yafli means a lashon of an expression. It's got to be clear. Since at the time of this expression it wasn't clear, since at the time of this expression you didn't know, You didn't know until later, till you found out whether the guy walking was a Nazir or not. So since at that time it wasn't clear, neither one is a Nazir. So why does it have to do with this Gemara? Like if you look at the end of Rashi, Al Mol Reb Tarfin, I want to count down in the Gemara 2, 4, 6, 8, about 12, 13, 14 lines down. It says you have Vayikra Chav Zayin in parentheses, one line below. Al Mol Reb Tarfin, the Chitolet Tana B'midid Lav Biyadei. When you make a condition in something that's not in your hands, in this case, that person walking, your condition is in that person walking, you don't know if they're a Nazir or not. And you don't know. And we don't say misafik a person's gomru makna. So just like by Nazir, it wasn't in your hands. We say that watching at a Nazir who had din by playing dice. It's not in your hands. We say a person's not gomru makna. Once you're not gomru makna, then automatically you're a goslin, because the guy who takes it is taking something from you. Okay, so let's go over to Gemara. Why did we just see so far? This is Chazar Riba. We say Masach Kuvi is possible be'edis. According to our Mishnah, the reason is als being oisik b'yishuv. You're not being oisik b'yishuv shaloylam. If you have a job, you're good. That's our Mishnah. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Tanakama, so it's one shita in our Mishnah. Rabbi Bar Chama says the reason why Sachi Pekuvia, a gambler, is puzzle is because he's a goslin. Why is he a goslin? Because he's not marking the money on the table. You go to Atlantic City, you put your money on the blackjack table, right? So you're really not going to makna. So the blackjack table, they're a bunch of goslanim. They get the puzzle edis, the people who go ahead and run casinos. That's according to what? According to Rami Bar Chama. That's according to Rami Bar Chama. One second, that such ki gavne, that's not an asmachta. It goes, no, we find the source for that. We find the source where even something's not spiyadoi, that what you're not going to rumakna. That's the source. Is Naziris. You putting money on the blackjack table is the same thing as, one second, I don't know if this guy walking is a Nazir or not. It's up in the air, correct? And what do you see? You're not a Nazir. What do you see over there? You're not makna. The same thing, and that's the Gemara so far. Malva Baribis, guys. What's Malva Baribis? Again, personal lens.
What does Ella mean?
Excuse me?
Ella lahafla.
Hafla means to express.
Okay.
Ish ki yafli. The shorish is ki yafli. Expression. It's very interesting. That's the simin and shulchan aruch of the Yad Chazaka. Nedarim, Naziris, and Shvuas is all under the Rambam. Is book the Sefer Hafla. Okay, now says the Malva Baribis, Amarava Loiva Baribis Pasaladis. Not only is the borrower, not only the lender, but the borrower also, the guy who borrows. Malva Baribis, it's mashma only the lender. Says Milva Haba Baribis. No. Anyone, if you remember from Ezu Neshech, guys, this guy loves money so much, he's willing to go ahead and pay extra to get money. So therefore, this guy, based upon the Ikad the Rambam, is out of the ballpark. He's puzzle. Story time. Bar Binsus Aside Bey Tresade. Bar Binsus, he had two people testify against him. Chadamar Kame Didi Oisva Beribsa. In front of me, he lent money. He lent money beribis. The Chad Amar Lididi Oisve Beribsa. And in front of me, he went ahead and lent me beribis. In other words, I borrowed from him beribis. So you gotta. We'll see the problem in a second. So you have two Eidim, but one of the guys is being made on himself that what? That he is. Okay. So pasla rava lebar binsus. Bar binsus now became pasla edis. Now here's your problem, guys. This guy said, "I'm a Russia." Why? I borrowed from him. Do you know the answer to this? Well, you should. Let's go back to Daf Tes, Amid Beis. Even I know Watsko still has it in the. Daf Tes Amid Beis. 5 lines up. For Amr of Yosef, Pliny Ravu Lainsai. So and so did an act as a nus to me, he forced me. Hu ve'echad, this person and another person, mitztarfa laharga, they can kill Pliny. They can kill Pliny. L'ert Sinai, I willingly was involved in this nus. Russia who? This person's a Russia. Vatayra Amar I'll touch this Russia aid. So therefore we won't accept this aid because he said that what? I was involved willingly. Amar Rav Amar Adam Koravetz Alatzmai. A person is Korav himself. They ain't Adam Mesamatzmai Russia. So guys, what are we going to say? Palginon Dibura. We're going to divide his words. Right? We're going to say the part that he says that what? That he was a rush, that he was involved, we'll take out. The part that he said so-and-so did the act this nus, we'll accept. And we're going to say the same thing over here. What did he say? He said, I borrowed beribis from Barbinsus. We'll go ahead, and therefore I'm a Russia. We'll cut that out, says Rava, and therefore Palkinan will say what? We accept the Adis. Okay, let's see by back Hey guys. So Pasi Rava Barbinsus. I frag the Gemara of Rava who the Amar loiva beribis pasal Adis. V'havile Russia, v'Torah Omar Toshas Russia aid. So how in the world would this individual who borrowed money from Barbinsis be acceptable what as an aid? How would we accept him as an aid? Says Marava Tamei, Damarava Adam Karavetz Alatzmai, Meinadam Mesamatzmai Russia. So what will we do? We'll say Palginon, we'll divide it up, and we'll say that you know what? You're right. Barbinsis is a Malva Baribis, but this person is. We don't know. We don't accept the fact that he was the one, but we know he lent someone. Guys, you good? That's Rabbi. Hahu Tavcha, there was this butcher. The shtakich the nafka treifasa mitut the yade. Nishkadach, he loved money, and he was selling treifa meat. Pasli Rav Nachman pastled him. The Avre, and he took him down. Again, they used to have a butcher in the town. He's no longer a butcher. Azul, this individual went. Rabbi Mazia, he let his hair grow. V'tayfrei, let his fingernails grow. In other words, I guess he was showing that he was repenting. Sav Rav Nachman lachshure. Rav Nachman helped to go ahead and maksha him. Amle Rava dilma arume kama arim. Maybe he's doing a futch. Maybe he's doing a trick. Maybe he really doesn't want to do tshuva. Maybe just he wants his job back. Elamai takante. What's his takana? Kidarav idi barovin. Don Rav idi barovin. Hachoshed ala treifus, a person is choshed for selling tarfus. They go to a place we don't recognize him. So since it's a place they don't recognize him, there's no svara to say he's doing a trick. Or he finds an aveda and it's very, very expensive and he returns it. So you see that he's repenting in his love of money. Or he goes ahead, shechs an animal. And it's something very expensive, and he says it's treif, but again, in a different place. So I think I showed the Rambam. I think it fits in very geshmak, guys. When a person's a Russia in level 1 of the Rambam, you're eating basa b'cholov, you're wearing shatnez, which has nothing to do with love of money. When you get malchus, you simply return to your status because you're no longer a Russia. Masha'en came when the isser of dayonis or the isser of edus comes as a result of your love of money. Then the takana is not so pashut. Then the takana has to be clearly you're reversing your love of money. And that's what the Gemara is telling you over here. That what's the takana for this guy? Because it's not universal. It's got to be specifically to what the specific individual in the specific situation. We say mafricha yoinim. One of the psulim le'edus in the Mishnah was people literally who fly birds. My mafricha yoinim hacha tirgumna here in Bavel they are metagim itagde yoincha liyoin. If my bird finishes ahead of your birds. They were racing. So this is very similar to Masachek Pekuvia. You're gambling. You're putting money that my bird is faster than your bird. You're paying dice. You're paying craps, whatever that is. Rav Chama bar Roshia Amar, Ara. Rashi says some word. Ashtolvin, Melumid lehevi yoinim miyukoimim lebeis bailim al karchon v'yesh bem gezel. This person has a bird that's able to bring other birds. This person has a bird that's able to bring other birds. If you have Rabbeinu Hananel, he says something very interesting. It's the old Gemaras, it's on the other side. The new Gemaras is probably on the same daf. And he says, Pirish Ara, Klaishrin Chut Arach Ba'oif. They would go ahead and attach a long string to a bird. Umafrichnei Begag. They let it go ahead and fly on the roof, and obviously it couldn't get off the roof because it's tied to a string. Umitzapzefim, it's going to make the bird sounds. And what are the other birds going to do? Umiskaptzim svivoisav, they're going to gather around Nebuch, this bird. Oifos shabani yodam min shoivchin acherim. They can come from different coops. The kivin shemiskaptzim poishin reshes v'noitim. It's going to go ahead and take a net and get them. So this is mafricha yoinim. He's going to cause the bird to fly, but the bird won't be able to fly. And then when other birds hear this bird in distress, they're going to all come to go ahead and help him and get him. And then he's going to take a net and get him. So what's he doing? He's stealing the birds from other coats, from other pigeon coats, right? He's stealing birds from other pigeon coats. That's what Ben Chananel's pshat over here. So they have two. So you have two pshatim. One is a bird racer. Two, it's what? It's a trapper. He's going to go ahead, he's going to go ahead and cause other birds to come. Rashi says that there's a bird that's malumid to go ahead and do this. And Rabbeinu Chananel gives you a more specific way that he's going to accomplish that goal. Manda Omar, my time Ara. What did he like about Ara? Why didn't he like about the second guy's pshat? What are you stealing? Guys, any bird that comes to roost in your coop is not yours. You don't make a kinyan, they come and they go. They come and they go. So what do you do? If they dark is shalom, because one guy shouldn't be angry at the other guy, right? He should be angry at the other guy. You'll go ahead and do this. Okay. Memela, that's not really a reason to passel you. What did he like about the racing birds? That's the exact same as Pesachim Kuvya. There's no difference. You're gambling. You're putting money on birds. The other case, you're putting money on dice. Now, what's the difference between putting money on dice and putting money on birds? Putting money on dice, you think, right? What do they do? Box cars, right? You're gonna go ahead like this. You blow the dice, and never. Okay, so one case you have what? You have the dice, you think it's telling yourself. The other case, the birds, clearly it's not telling yourself. So therefore, the one who says it's bird racing says, well, it's not the exact same as B'sachei B'kuvya. One is B'toyle B'das Atzmai, one is B'toyle B'das Acherim. And therefore, we can list two cases. Says the word of Idach. The one who says that it's playing dice. Why does he learn it's bird racing and not being a bird trapper? Says Gemara, Tana Toyle B'das Atzmai, B'tana B'das Yoinai. You want das yourself as a dice player, and the other one das Yoinai. But you got to tell me both. If you say Tola B'das Atzmai, Hasam Hu D'loi Gomru Makna. There, that's case where what? Guy really doesn't mean it. He really doesn't mean it. You know what? I think I'm going to win, right? The Omar, Kom Le Ben Avshoy Yomi Beis. So I think I'm going to win. Therefore, I'm not going to Makna. Therefore, there I'm a Goslin. The Adin and Tfei, because I know better. Aval Tola B'das Yoinoi, Emaloi. Listen, I think I have a fierce bird. But they also have a fierce bird, right? They also have a fierce bird. Derech Agav, guys, the peregrine falcon is the fastest creature in the world. It dies at 240 miles an hour. 240 miles. It hits another bird like a bullet. Anyway, so maybe this guy's got a peregrine falcon, and I'm cocked at Saras. So in other words, over there, maybe Takir is Gomro Makna. You know how birds fly? You take two pieces of wood, you knock them together, and you say, go bird, go, go bird, go. So I'm a good knocker. He goes, I'm a good knocker. I can knock these things very well. So therefore he's not going to makna. I know I'd know how to knock better than the other guy. I'd say maybe the other guy can shoot dice like me. So tzricha, you need to tell me both the puzzle this. So we have two pshatim in what mafriche yoina are. Is it a bird racer, or is it one that's uses a means of trapping other birds? Mesidei. Hamasachi Pekuvya, Eluhin Hamasachim. These are they. Eluhin, what are they? Hamasachim Paspasim. They play with pieces of wood. V'loy Paspasim B'vado Amru. Elafilu Klipe Goizim. They play with nut shells. The Klipe Rimoinim, pomegranate shells. The Emasai Chazar Rasan. Okay, again, this is very geschmack, right? How do you go back to get back your status? Yishbru es paspasayim. They break their what? They break their wood. V'yachzru behen chazara gemura, and they do total shuva. They don't even pay for nothing. You know, it's they spiel this in Hanukkah time kvittlich, right? Even for nothing, they don't pay, right? Malva beribis, echad malva v'echad alayva. Not only the lender, but even the borrower. The aim is say chazar and how do they do tshuva? That they can be kasha. Mishiyikru es shtareim. They rip up the shtareis. V'yachzu ben chazar gemura. V'afilu l'nachri le'maisvei. They don't even lend to nachri. Now we know that a nachri you are able to go ahead and lend. A nachri, guys, you are able to go ahead and lend beribis. But no, in other words, if I'm choishin on money, you want to know an action to show I'm not choishin anymore, guys? You know what an action is? Even that's mutter to me, I won't do. Even that's mutter to me, I won't do. It's mutter to go ahead and lend. Usury is permitted by Goyim. I'm not going to do it. That'd be chayzer b'tshuva. Umafricha yoinim, elu shememarim es hayoinim. Now Rashi says over here, guys, this is cockfights. Rashi says, look at Rashi. Memarim es hayoinim. Margizim oison ze al ze. You write some on, right? Kenny, you write some on, right? Nothing. You write some on. You antagonize them, right? You get them going. You write some on lahilachim to fight. So this is similar to bird racing, right, guys? This is similar to bird racing, yeah. Because again, you're going to say my bird. In one case, my bird is faster. In this case, my bird is stronger. But this is so it's not really a kasha. This is the type of thing where my bird's better than your bird. And this is not only by birds, right? In these findings also. Now it says behema. Keep in mind, guys, it says behema. That's important. Because behema cannot be a means of getting other behemoths to come. You understand? We're going to ask a kasha on the man. The Amos says maficha yoinim is using as a means of trapping another one. How can you use a behemoth to trap another one? Right? That's going to be the kasha. The Amos say chazarasan. These people, where's the chazara? Mishiyishbru es pigamehem. They break their I guess the things they used to go ahead with and the dafim that they hit the birds with to get going. V'yachzuhem chazar gemura. Dafil b'midbar nami le'av. They don't even do it in the midbar. So Rashi, guys, Afil B'mimba says this is according to the lashon of bird trappings. In the midbar, where you don't have to worry about it, they won't do it. Look at Rashi, guys. Afil B'midbar, l'shchichi yoinim, the yishuv. In the midbar, you're not going to have yoinim that are domesticated. V'hai pirusha l'lishna da'ara nakala. This piece of this is not part of the brisa. This is going to that shot of oror that it's used while it's a means to trap other birds. V'lei migufa the brisa. It's not part of the brisa. You know how, guys, I'll say this twice. We're going to use this brisa to ask on the man the Omar who says oror. So if you're using this brisa to ask on the man the Omar oror, then you have a raya from the brisa to the Pirish and oror because it says Bamidbar. And Bamidbar, it's no shaykhit to what? To racing. No one's in the midbar racing birds. No one lives in the midbar. It's desolate, right? So it would only be shaykh to what? To one who wants to use it as a means of what? Of oror. In the midbar, that what? You're using to get other birds that might belong to somebody else. I don't know. It's how why would Chazara be? He doesn't do it at all. He never does it. He doesn't. Just like he doesn't play dice anymore. He doesn't go ahead and have bird fights, cock fights anymore. Okay, back in the Gemara. What do? They go ahead and they do business with Perish Shvius. The aim is say Chazarasan. Where's the Chayzer B'tshuva? Mishitagia Shvius Acheres V'yibadlu. Next Shvius, they stay away. So you see it again. He's Chayzer B'tshuva. Ramam Nechemya Lech Chazaris Devarim Bavad Amru El Chazaris Mamin. They also return the money. Kate said, I need plenty by plenty. Kanasti Matayim Zuz B'Perish Shvius. I took 200 zuz, a lot sum of money at Perish Shvius into my house. I'm giving to the Aniyim. Okay, so now you have this whole, and in this price, guys, we said one thing. We said a behema, right? We said even a behema, what? Ketani behema, bishleim l'man yama itag meyoin chaliyoin hainu demishkafas lo behema. You could have a behema fight, right? You could have a behema, two behemoths fighting with each other, or my behema is faster than your behema. But how can a behema be an allure to get another behema? So this whole large brises, long brises, besides being very geschmack, was what? Was simply the kasha, loit demand the that says, mafriche yoinim is the means of attracting other birds. How are you going to explain that when it says over here, mafriche yoinim, the lavdafka yoinim, even behema v'chaya also is in the same, and behema, it's not shaykh horror, it's not shaykh being attracted to capture other birds. It's only shaykh gambling by having it fight or race or something else. And if the Gemara in B'shar Habar, speaking about a wild ox. Now, Shar Habar is a shaila, whether it's a domesticated animal, not a domesticated animal. Nafkamina would be if it's a chaya that the chaylev would be mutter, and you'd have to do kisi adam. But it looks wild enough to attract other animals. Command Amar Shar Habar min behemahu. Ditnan Shar Habar min behemahu. So you can take a Shar Habar and you can use it as a means of attracting other behemoths. Rashi seems to say if it was a regular behemoth, you have to worry that the chayas are going to kill it. But it seems that Shar Habar is wild enough that the chayas won't kill it. Rabbi Yossi Yomer min chaya. It's a min chaya. Now, we just gave a bunch of cases in our Mishnah. We said Mesachi B'Kuvya, we said Malva B'Ribis, and we said someone who is Isaac with Shemitah. Now we're going to have, Gemara is going to add on some others. And Gemara is going to ask initially, why didn't they think it was a problem? This all fits in beautiful with the Rambam's second ikr, guys. It all fits in beautifully with the Rambam's second ikr of since they love money, right? The asa pasal edis and the asa dayanis pasal for dayanis. Haisi tana haisifru alehem hagazlanim v'hachamsanim. Chamsanim is to say, oh, I like that shirt very much. And you go ahead and you throw money down in front of him, and the person acquiesces and he gives you the shirt or whatever it is at that point in time. Good. The Gemara Gazlan deraisa. Who? Gazlan's deraisa. So what are you telling me that they again? If it's deraisa, guys, it's the first chelik of the Rambam. He's a Rasha. If it's deraisa, he's a Rasha. Says the Gemara. Well, the second one also. This guy covers both. No, excuse me. Gazlan doesn't get Malkus. It's a Heshavas Gzela. I'm sorry. Gazlan doesn't get Malkus. Heshavas Gzela. So Mela it's only in the second rule. Okay. Gazlan mida Raisa is also not the Rabbanon. So this is He's willing to go ahead and take away the mitzia, the found object of a chereshayt of a cotton. Meikarasava mitzia chereshayt of a cotton l'shchicha. Initially, they held that the mitzia of a chereshayt of a cotton is not commonly found. Inami mifnei darka shalom, because of darka shalom. Darka shalom means that you don't want fighting, but it's not really gezela. Kivin the chazi, the slave from the moinahu, since the bottom line is money. The kashakli, we see this guy loves money. Paslinu rabbanan, they're going to passel him. Hachamsanim. They thought this is just, he's going to give money and just, sometimes do it, sometimes not. You know what they would do, guys? Initially, they would do the following. They would tell the person, here's money, and put the money down, and the person would acquiesce. And eventually, you know what they did? They chapped the object first and then put the money down. Look at the change of Lashon. Guys, look at the change of Lashon. Meikara, what did they do? It says Meikara, they gave money. Meikara sava de meika yahiv akrei ba'almahu. Kivin the chazi de chatfe, since they saw they would grab it and then put down the money, gazu rabbana. Tana oidai sifu aleihem aroyim shepherds gaboyim tax collectors moichsin custom agents royim are shepherds. Meikar Savak Rei Ba'almahu, Kivin the Chazi the Kamachavne, Bishadi Lechatchila Gaza Rabbanan. Since they saw that what they were Machaven, they didn't steal, the Rabbanan what they asked these people. So that's the okay. I guess we'll stop over here.